to Social Cafe Interactive, and this week we are talking about reviews. And I consider you guys more experts in this area. In particular, Gail, I've heard you talk a lot about what is it, G2, and why do I always forget the other sites?
Capterra.
There we go. That's an interesting word, even to remember and spell and say. But I'm looking forward to the insights from our regular guests, Tom and Gail. Welcome, and welcome all of you watching this, whether that's right now or in the future. So let's get started. Some interesting points in the chat this evening. I was trying to catch all of them. Like Tom, you mentioned about pop-ups. You mean the pop-ups that ask for reviews?
Well, yeah, specific to tonight's discussion, yes. But as a general rule, as soon as a pop-up comes up, I leave the site. I don't even want to mess with them. I don't want to read it. I don't know what it says. And I don't want to be bothered. I go to the site for my purposes. Now, I recognize the host has their purposes too. But you can't let somebody start reading the first sentence in the topic they're looking for, and all of a sudden it's, oh no, look at this, and look at this, and look. I had one the other day, and it was a Institute of Higher Education's journal. 3 pop-ups before I get back to the second half of the first sentence in the article, and it was like
excessive.
I don't want to do this. And I left the site. So yeah, I cut off my nose to spite my face perhaps, but my own sense of those kind of pop-ups as a general rule is just so negative. And then when you, and I've had a company I've been dealing with, and you cannot leave their site without a new pop-up coming up and it says, tell us how we did. And I've gotten to the point where I say, you suck. It just, and again, maybe it's just me, but they don't hit me well.
It's not just you. But the problem is that they work. So people are not going to quit using them. But they don't work on me or you, because you leave and I close them so fast, I don't even know what they said. Right?
Yeah, but Gail, to follow your argument, this is why the Nigerian prince is still alive and well. Because it works. And,
yes.
and I just... My own webmaster went onto my website and put all these pop-ups in there. And I went in there one day and I was like, what in the world is this? And I sent him a rather blistering message and said, I never asked you to do that. I would never ask you to do that. I want them removed immediately. And 3 email strings later when he said, oh, but we've shown they work. Oh, yeah, it's really great when you use it. And I said, let me make this crystal clear. Get them off my site. So, yeah, we've had that debate.
There's only one time I used them. I had someone clone my site and put it up somewhere else, right, with a very similar domain name. Mm-hmm. And fortunately for me, they cloned all the plugins. And at the time, Cranky Ads was running in my site, and I had control of that. So I turned on every kind of ad known to anybody, right? So where I normally might have had one ad somewhere, I turned on every single ad, pop-up, interstitial, every kind there was, maximum numbers of times, minimum amount of time between them, right? Because I figured anybody that would visit, if they saw all that, they would know something was wrong, right? Because my site would never look like that. It was some Russian scammers that did it. And I was extremely disappointed that Namecheap refused to take the site down. That is my registrar. And I reported it to them because they registered the other domain. And they said, we don't care, basically. Because think of how much money they make off of people who clone websites. But I couldn't figure out what the scam was, right? I never did figure it out. The site got no traffic, right? So I don't know what the scam was.
But did that work when they were cloning all these pop-ups and everything else? And
well, apparently they don't look at the stuff. They clone it and then they move on, right? They must clone, who knows, tens of thousands of sites. And maybe they're hoping eventually they'll rank, or because they can't rank, right? It's impossible for identical content on another news domain to outrank the content on the original domain. So they
Right.
can't rank, they can't get traffic unless they buy it. I don't know what the point is. I really
I don't
don't.
know either.
I'm
Hey, I
sure they have
found you
one.
yesterday. I was looking at something and I cannot remember what I was looking at. Sometimes I go down rabbit holes and I'm all over the place and whatever. And I'm like, I was scanning something. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I just, because I Grow Map, it just pops out at you. And I'm like, hey, I know her. And it was something to do with ranking or something. I'm like, wow, that's cool. You're on, I don't know what I was looking at, but it was something good. And it was something you were on a list as far as ranking. So it was all good. I just can't remember
Oh.
without looking at my browser history. I cannot remember what I was looking at.
Yeah, I don't know. Good, lots of things out there over the years.
Yep.
No telling.
Yep.
Yeah, but reviews are tricky. You have to be careful you don't break the rules, right? And you have to stay on top of the scammers that leave, like, something on Facebook that's really bad on Facebook is people leaving comments that they're trying to get you to use their financial advisor, right? So it's like they have a bot and it has a whole stream of comments, and they're sticking those on reviews on Facebook.
I haven't seen
And
that.
so, yeah, so if you have a site, if you have a page on Facebook, you have to look at your reviews a lot,
Hmm.
and you have to report those. You have to report them to Facebook, and then they remove them. I don't know how long that takes, but you can't remove them, and so you have to wait for Facebook reviewer people to remove them.
So it's people asking you to like hire them as a financial person or something, or
Right. So you're on the business page, and
hmm
there's a review that has nothing to do with the business page.
okay,
It's all about, I got rich because of my financial advisor, and you can too, right? And if you find a page where they're there, there'll be 3 or 4 of them, or 10 or
okay,
20 of them, depending
okay,
on how often that business looks at their own page.
okay. I'm trying to think what Oh, I know what I saw something. Michael calls me up and he says, "So do you know such and such?" And I don't know. It was a vague like general word. And it was like, "What are you talking about? What on earth are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, I don't know. We were mentioned in something." And I'm like, "Okay, Michael, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know this person. I don't know this entity. That's a general word in the dictionary. It's not a company." So finally I said, "I'm going to log in as you in Facebook because I'm not seeing this." So I found it, and there's this whole list, including our brand, of everything we've been linked, and it was a scam, and I couldn't remove myself. And they're saying they're Facebook, and it was one of those, I've seen these before, where Facebook is going to actually like, we're going to shut you down because you're a scam. And like, Facebook doesn't operate that way. Facebook will
Right.
contact you directly. They won't post it on some vague word in the dictionary company page. That's not how Facebook operates.
Right. No, I saw something similar. In
Oh.
fact, it's posted on my Facebook. It said, pretending your Facebook isn't going to turn out well. Right?
Yeah.
It was some entity pretending to be Facebook. Fortunately, they couldn't spell,
Yep.
and it was just awkwardly written. So it was obviously not Facebook.
Yep.
I mean, you had to
That's what
think
this
about it.
is.
Well, they probably have offshore people, but that was really bad. So probably not Facebook. But unfortunately, a lot of people fall for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It said basically you have to do X, Y, or Z, or we're going to take your page away.
Exactly.
And
I
yeah,
mean, exactly. That's
a
what it
new
says.
scam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Not
new
exactly.
scam.
They're gonna take it away. Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
that in the last few weeks.
Yep. That and the porn scam. That was the other one that I kept getting emails on that one. You really have to
Yeah.
think about, would these people really be doing that? And that, related to reviews, these fake reviews and things like that, you got to watch out for.
Well, Deborah,
They're rampant. The fake reviews are just rampant, and there's a couple things we need to talk about fake reviews.
Yep.
Deborah, I was just going to mention that not that long ago, you had your trademarked, copyrighted logo literally lifted by somebody else to use as their own on the X accounts. And you copied me on some of the things you sent them, and I'm thinking, hey, she's being too nice. It's like, you scum, stop stealing my stuff. But you were like, you do realize this is inappropriate to use. And what got me was their response was basically, yeah, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And so, we got it reported to X, and you did all the right responses. and all of a sudden the account disappears and comes back with a new avatar. Amazing how that works.
Yeah. I think
That's how it
that
should work.
X got a hold of them, but it was, I went to on the trademark end of it. They didn't like that, so they came back. They said, contact us on the copyright infringement. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, X. I contacted you on the wrong channel, but I mean, now I'm figuring out how X wants it handled. But I mean, yeah, I was surprised. She's putting herself out there. She or he, I don't know which. I'm assuming she, because she likes the female picture. Well, it doesn't say anything. Never mind. Anyway, I'll just say she, just to pick a gender. But she's putting herself out as an 8th grade teacher. And eventually I wasn't as nice. And I said privately, I said, what are you teaching your students as far as behavior? Because this is not behavior that you would want students to copy. And her basis was, well, you didn't put the right meta information in the image to say this is copyrighted. It is copyrighted. What?
Automatically, you don't need to do anything.
Oh.
So at least X takes them down.
Yep.
Facebook, there's a very famous channel that I subscribe to that has millions of subscribers. And Facebook consistently keeps showing me this other copycat channel, right? And I have reported it over and over. I've reported it. And the reason I first recognized that it was a copycat was someone else in the comments said, I've reported this, it's a scam. So when I started reporting it, they had like 16,000 subscribers. Now they're up to 24,000. I have reported it over and over and over. And so has the real channel. So has this other person who comments every time they see them. And not only will Facebook not take them down, every single day Facebook says, here's content suggested for you.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, no, because I have repeatedly told you that that is a illegitimate channel. Why
So they
are
don't deal
you
with
telling
it.
me that it's recommended for me? Is it Facebook doing this? What's wrong with you people?
I can actually believe that because we had Michael's Instagram. It was right before Facebook took over Instagram, but he has Seaside Records everywhere except Instagram. He had Seaside Records at Instagram, and it wasn't like we purchased, we got, or not purchased it. We acquired it because it had been abandoned. We at the very beginning of Instagram, we set up, we went all over the internet. We had Seaside Records, but someone hacked it. It's the only account I've ever had hacked in the history of my life. As far as someone got in somehow on that account, took it over, put a bathing beauty on it, and deleted all the images that we had there. So that's, if you see that anything nudity on Seaside Records, it's not Michael. And I put all the proof there. I put all of our documentation, everything, and Facebook wouldn't even respond. So that's something I'm still trying to fight.
Yeah, see, platforms that don't take, and they could block a lot of this stuff. Like, how many people on Facebook have had their account cloned? Right?
Mhm.
How hard would it be for Facebook to have an algorithm that looks to see if it already exists when it creates a new one, right? And just just block it,
Yep.
right? And people, and I don't know why they pick on specific people. Like, I knew a doctor who had passed away, and people kept cloning his account. And I would go on their new page and say, hey, I knew him personally, and he has been deceased for years now, right? I don't know. There is no reason that they cannot automatically block most of the scammy stuff. And then I'm going to say this about scams first, and then we need to go back to reviews. So most of the advertising on Facebook and YouTube, they're scams. The stuff that they're supposedly selling, the prices are ridiculous. There's no way it could be any good for the price that it's being sold for. The claims are outrageous. And somebody needs to quit saying taking the world by storm, because I'm really sick of that being an everyday ad all over YouTube and Facebook, including some legit places using taking the world by storm. Enough already. No, it's not. And there's all lies, right? And so we need to get back to reviews. People need to be able to recognize bad reviews, scam reviews. Like Amazon is buried in bad reviews, right?
Mhm.
You need to look at the person making a negative review and see what else they've reviewed. And if they blast everything negative, you know that they're a scam. If they, or they're just grumpy people that never like
I was gonna
anything,
say, it just yeah.
right? And if they, and if they have all kinds of positive reviews and they're scattered all over the world, unless they're a globe trotting, whatever they call that thing that Ryan is, people don't review places all over, right? They live somewhere. The reviews should
Mhm.
primarily be wherever they live, wherever they work, not all kinds of things. So people need to do not take the reviews at face value. Go and look at the people doing the reviewing and see if they're real. First filter by on Amazon, people that are, what do they call it when you've bought it? They confirm that you bought it there, something like
A verified
Yes,
purchase.
verified
Mhm.
purchaser. Only look at those. Don't look at all the other perfect reviews, right? Because they're probably all paid for,
Mhm.
right? And people need to understand that there are fake reviews everywhere. There are people that hire it. There are competitors that will pay for people to leave bad reviews, right?
Really? I didn't even think of that.
Oh yeah. And
Oh.
and I want to talk about webinars, right? So there's all kinds of webinars you'll see that pretend they're live because probably they think that converts better or people are more likely to show up if you make them come to a time slot, right?
Mhm.
Most of those are pre-recorded and so are the comments, which may or may not be real, right? And so are the testimonials all over their website, which again may or may not be real. And so
That's not
people have
nice.
to be aware, right, that you think it's a live webinar, but it really isn't. Maybe the person doing the webinar, it's pre-recorded, but maybe they're actually there to answer questions at the end, and maybe
Mhm.
they're not. Right? You have to be aware of common marketing tactics when it comes to reviews, and business owners need to know, right? Because you
I
may be freaking out over somebody leaving a bad review and they aren't even really your customer. They're a competitor
wow.
trying to get even with you, or you made somebody mad and now they're going to give you bad reviews everywhere.
Wow. See, I like the method of pre-recording, and I mean that actually is my preferred method. So that you, like, for instance, if you're going to interview someone and then have them there at your webinar, sometimes I've had no shows, or I used to have that back in 2015. So it's like, great, you have the person here, you're going to have an interview, you're going to have them demonstrate something or talk about their program or whatever. Then you have the pre-recording, and you do that for a webinar, but give full disclosure. That's the big thing, is don't put it out there and then pretend like that's live when it's not live. I mean, the mechanics of being able to have a pre-recording and then have it feed like it's live is really cool, but I don't like to actually like mislead people and give that feeling, because that doesn't seem cool to me.
Well, if I can return to the thought of misleading, and Gail's right, you need to make sure that you look at them, you review them. A lot of cases you have to approve them before they get posted to your site anyway. Not always, but a lot of times that's true. But Deborah, I've got to ask you, did you go back to that little avatar picture that you used, and did you put the TM and the little C and embed it on it? Now, granted, the avatar is only this big, so those letters are going to be there. And I get that. But the point is, if you blow it up, you can see it, and it is marked, and
Yep.
it is tagged.
Yep.
As Gail noted, under the Berne Convention for International Copyright Enforcement, you don't need to put the C in a circle on it. It is by definition copyrighted the moment you lift your pencil from the paper, or however you're creating things. And so, all that I can agree with. Nonetheless, the C and the TM have legal significance. They have meaning. Now, just to caution anybody listening to this, once you begin to use some mark, some symbol, some special coloring even, there's different things you can trademark, then it's appropriate to use the TM, meaning that you are claiming it as a trademark. And somebody else may see it and say, oh, that interferes with mine. It's too close to mine. You can't use that. But do not put the R in a circle. A lot of people think that they can do that for a trademark. And they can if and only if they've properly registered it and it's been accepted through the appropriate filing authorities of the U.S. government. And so just a caution there. I encourage people to always use the C. No, it's not legally necessary, but it helps. Always use the TM if it is a logo because it helps. But do not go so far as to put an R on there. If you put the R in a circle and it's not registered, you are liable. So just a caution on that. But glad to hear that you did that. Hopefully it'll forestall any other pirates like that coming along and trying to hurt your business.
Right. If you have honest people and you point it out, they'll fix it. But in 1994, I had the biggest website on the internet, and another competing website popped up using the exact same. It was clip art. It was like public. Anybody could use it, but they had a name just like mine, the tagline just like mine, and the same clip art on their logo as mine. And I sent them a message and said, "Hey," and the reason I knew was that I had a lot of readers, and they kept telling me, more and more people said, "Hey, that site over there, they copied yours, and I just said, "Hey." They goes, "Oh, it's just a coincidence." I said, "It's a coincidence that everything's the same? I don't think so." And then they took it down. And so that wasn't a big deal. Sometimes these people are in Russia or wherever. There's nothing really you can do to them. Right. And you have to think about, are you going to sue people or not? I've had people contact me. I had someone from another country, like not even a major country, contact me. And they said, "Hey, we've realized that our whatever they were doing had a similar name to GrowMap. It wasn't exactly the same, though. It wasn't spelled the same. It wasn't in the same niche, right?" And they said, "Can we work something out? Do you want us to pay you?" And I went, "Well, no. I don't see any way anybody could get confused. You're in a different country. You're in a different niche. It's not spelled the same. It may sound kind of the same, but, I'm not going to sue you for it." And they go, "Oh, thank you very much." And they were really happy. They contacted me on LinkedIn and they said, "Hey, we already did it. And then we realized we saw your brand and we went, oh, wow." And I went, "No. Okay." And I've had other people say that. Like there's other grow map out there, but they're usually related to some kind of map,
Mhm.
right? There is a grow map, something that I've come across on the internet. And I don't know, I've probably been around longer than them, but it's not the same niche. And I don't, I'm not suing anybody anyway. Right.
This one we're going to sue because this one was very distinct. I mean, I know the lady that sat down with a paintbrush and actually painted. I mean, the picture is bigger than this screen. It's a huge picture on our wall.
But
And
you have
that's
to
what that little avatar is based on. And this lady told me, "Well, I just found the picture on the internet." And it's like, if you found the picture on the internet, that little picture you found on the internet was from my wall.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, AI is using that trick right now too. And they say all of our material is from publicly available sources.
Which is everything on the internet.
Anything on the internet is publicly available. It doesn't mean you have the right to use it. And so there are little tricks that people will use like that. But to return to the review concept, pay attention to it. It's important. People do follow it. I confess, I was never a Yelp person. I was never, I didn't do that stuff. And so people would say, "Well, check your Yelp reviews." And I'm like, I don't even know what Yelp is. That's what a dog says when you step on its paw. It means nothing to me. But I've learned you've got to pay attention to those things. And whether it is to the extreme of violating your copyright, your trademark, any other intellectual property that you have, that's more egregious and legally actionable. The bad reviews, you hear these stories every now and then about an Airbnb where the people trashed the place, so the landlord put a bad review out there for them, and then they tried to sue the landlord for defamation. People will be litigious, and you need to guard against that as a small business. And I think we've run out of time.
This has been really good.
I was going to say, unfortunately, people can sue anyone for anything, even if they have no just cause and cost you money, right? But in general, reviews usually don't lead to lawsuits, thankfully, but they do. If like when I was in the e-commerce space, if you had a negative review at the top, your sales would drop precipitously until you got enough reviews to push that one down off the top of everything, right? And so they do a negative review can have serious consequences, especially for e-commerce sites. And so you need to respond appropriately. I cannot stress appropriately
I
strong
agree.
enough. When you see someone that gets a negative review and their response is horrendous, that is a big red flag to never do business with those people. And so if you're one of those people, don't be stupid. That's my best
Oh, I'm
advice.
gonna start
That is
singing a
stupid.
Shania Twain song now. Don't. Hey, Gail, before we go, please tell us about Tip Talk tomorrow.
Okay, we do have a tip talk tomorrow. It's about virtual assistants, and I hope everyone will come because this may be the last tip talk for a while. They're thinking about rearranging stuff, changing things up, doing something different. And so, if you want to come and say hi to everybody, tomorrow would be the one to show up for.
Okay.
And information is at blog.bizsugar.com/tip talk.
Excellent. And you can also find it at socialcafe.net/calendar. Make sure you go to
Right.
that full URL. That's the free calendar. Otherwise, if you're a member of socialcafe.net, you can click on the calendar link. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Gail. Appreciate all your insights.